core set refresh is here. Magic has been nerfed. It's now Light's time to shine. I went 21 out of 25 in the weekend ranked with it this weekend. It is extremely strong. I'm going to break down the deck for you guys and then show you a couple games. So let's break down this deck list. This is the Light deck that I used this weekend. There is a ton of good cards in this deck. So first of all, the Imperium Pacifist. This has been around. This thing just spirals out of control. It gets +1 health for every creature that you summon. At the end of your turn, if you have 10 health, it gets frontline. This thing, if you don't kill it immediately, just spirals out of control. And now with the new cards in this deck, this thing is even more potent than ever, because on turn 1, you can drop a Pacifist, and you can then Shield Bearer it. The old Shield Bearer is back. It's a 1 mana 1/1 now. Give +1/+1 to a friendly creature. So if you play it on the Imperium Pacifist on turn 1, it's going to become a 2/3. And then it just spirals out of control if someone doesn't kill it. The Shield Bearer acts as a frontline because this has backline. And literal frontline, you can actually play the Vexing Vicar now. This is a brand new core set refresh card. They just upped this one to 1 health, 1 strength for 1 mana with frontline protected ward. This card is extremely strong. You can stick all kinds of buffs on this guy and he's going to stick around. Plus his frontline is huge to protect things like Pacifist and even the Skeletal Hoplite, which is extremely strong with armor and getting a couple buffs on this. This thing can spiral out of control and the armor just makes it very difficult to kill. And then we've also got the Felid Janissary. This thing gives +1/+1 to a creature. It's effectively 3/3 worth of stats for 2 mana. And the Militant Theist is a 2/3 that gives +1/+1. Or you can even give an enemy creature -1/-1. So there's all kinds of options with the Militant Theist as well. He's another new card. Yet another card from the core set refresh. We have the Mace of Calling. This is extremely powerful. It's got a Roar of add a 2/2 Acolyte for 1 mana into your hand. And it's a 2 mana 2/3 relic. You can use this to continually keep control of the board and just continue to develop your own board while macing people to death. Next up, another new card. We have Wrong Path. This card is extremely strong. Pull an enemy creature to the top of your opponent's deck, draw a card. Let's imagine it's 5 mana. Your opponent plays a Guild Enforcer. You now Wrong Path the Guild Enforcer. It costs them 5 mana to play it. It now goes back on the top of their deck. They draw it next turn, which means they don't get to draw a card for real. And then they have to play it again. So they spent 10 mana on 1 card and didn't get a card draw. Meanwhile, you spent 3 mana to get rid of this. And now you can swing face because you got rid of the front line. You also draw a card. It's just an insanely powerful card. We're not done yet. Also, it's only 3 mana, so you still have 2 mana left over. You can develop your board. All of this for only 3 mana. This card probably needs to get nerfed. It's very strong. Next up, we've got Cern. He is just a great card. He's been around for a while in Divine Order. After a creature's healed, draw a card. It puts order on an opponent's creature so you can go face and also shut down a threat for a few turns. And then it also heals your characters for 2, which then procs his own drawing. Now, this card goes very well with a card that no one seems to be playing but is extremely powerful. The Parthian Proscenium has protected ward, and it can heal for 3 each turn, which then makes you draw cards with Cern. Or you can give your weakest creature +3 strength. It's a 5 mana 5/5, protected and ward. It's very sticky. One of Light's big problems is if it gets wiped off the board, it just ends up dying. Having something like this to drop on the board and your opponent just can't kill it in 1 turn, or at least not effectively, and they need to use many cards to get rid of it, this thing can actually swing the game back into Light's favor. Another new card, we have Prayer of the Desperate. Give +2/+2 to each of your creatures. This is extremely powerful. Even if you only have 2 creatures, that's +4/+4 overall for 5 mana. It's an okay deal. And then if you have 3 or more creatures, this is just busted beyond your wildest imagination. It can do literally so much damage. You can just have lethal in 1 turn. At 1 game, I would have lost, but I had a full board of creatures, and I could have done exactly 12 damage. Instead, I used Prayer of the Desperate. It did 24 damage and won me the game. The way I had a full board is Zealous March, which was buffed. It's now 7 mana. Fill your board with 2/2 Acolytes. each of your creatures gain protected. So not just your acolytes, but if you've already had a nice big creature like Porphyrion on the board, you put him on the board the turn before, he now suddenly gets protected. This card is just insane and definitely needs to be nerfed. It's way too good. Porphyrion, like I mentioned, is very strong now. This card should probably be in almost every single deck in the game at this point. It's too strong. It's got Ward. It's a 5/5 for 5 mana. And at the end of your turn, increase the mana cost of your opponent's god power by 2 until your next turn. This basically shuts your opponent's god power out of the game for the most part if played on curve, because that means it would take their entire mana pool just to be able to, let's say, deal 1 damage with magic. That's just not worth it, obviously. All right, next up we have the 2 cards that are from Genesis. Highborn Knights, which are obviously a very good card, but in this deck, honestly, it is not needed. If you played stuff with 2 strength instead of a 3 strength, you could then also replace, let's say, the Pyramid Wardens with Wild Hogs or something else small. You really don't need these either. And then if you had things that were 2 strength instead of 3 for Highborn, you could add in an Asterius. In fact, one of the reasons I didn't play Asterius in this deck is because of things like Highborn Knight having 3 strength, and the fact that the Parthian Proscenium buffs your creature's strengths. So oftentimes things like Shieldbearer, Janissary, and Militant Theist also buffing strengths. It just kept putting everything above 2 strength for me. And since Asterius only works on things with 2 or less strength, I found it unnecessary. For the mulligan, you definitely would love to see some Empyrean Pacifists if you're going first, and then like a Shieldbearer to buff it if you can. The Mace of Calling is a must if you're going second. It's even great if you're going first. Pyramid Warden, obviously, you want to get those out early. Skeletal Hoplites, you can get those out early and get some buffs on them. The Vexing Vicar is very nice to get out on turn 1. You do have to be careful against nature. If they have a Faithflame Blade, they can just wreck this thing. But that's it for the most part. You just want to build your board early, keep it wide, play Radiant Dawns, play Prayer for the Desperate, really buff all your board, get it huge. Make sure you continuously clear your opponent's board. Make sure you are always able to keep lots of creatures on your side of the board. That way you can hit them with these wide buffs like Prayer for the Desperate. You can use Wrong Path to get through big frontliners, or even early just to gain tempo. Even playing this on turn 3 is crazy because of how good this is. So that's going to do it for the deck breakdown. Let's take a look at a couple games I played. All right, we're playing against Deception, which is a tough matchup. Don't need to keep our 5-drops. Ooh, definitely don't want to keep that. Love the Mace going second. It's phenomenal. Get rid of CERN. All right, this is decent. Let's keep this. We can play the Mace on turn 1 and then everything else on turn 2. Hope that we can take the board. Hi. This Architect is kind of scary. Played a game during Weekend Ranked where someone got the Labyrinth Guard, the 4/8, but it becomes a 4/10 with armor with this thing. Just a massive wall. Alright, let's kill this. And then we will go all in here. Pump this up as much as possible. Hopefully with a frontliner, he has to make bad trade, or he uses most of his mana just to cheat this. Mugging is nasty. As long as he doesn't have a Vanguard Axewoman, I think we're okay. this is nice. Double buff on this thing. This Empyrean pacifist can just spiral. Now if we have a target to attack next turn, and then heal it with CERN, which draws cards. There's a target to attack. So we could hit this, and then give it order. Or we could just order it and go face. I would like to draw cards. So let's do it this way. If we get the card shark, it's a little bit dicey in a few turns, but we have a few turns to do a lot of damage. To worry about Rapture Dance in a few turns. This pumps this up to a 3/9. Now if we get Prayer for the Desperate or Radiant Dawn. No such luck, but we can trade off our 1/1 here. Use our relic. We could pump this up into a 4/11. But I'd rather pump. Let's pump up CERN here. Can't Rapture Dance next turn. Not too concerned about the bombs going in the deck. We have plenty of health. The thing I'm really concerned with is just drawing some cards. The Parthene plus CERN is a huge combo. But here, purely because I don't want to get everything Rapture Danced, namely CERN. I want him to be in good shape. Clear off a little bit of space. Just so many rogue skulkers in here. Now if he Rapture Dances, that uses all of his mana. These two both survive. Let's be one favor away from lethal. It's a shame we didn't get a wrong path here. This is going to leave a lot of stuff weak. Rapture Dance could be nasty. I'm going to clear out my own board here. This will survive a Rapture. Well, it's not lethal this turn, but it gets me within 2, which is all I want. Well, that's just lethal. Going second against nature feels bad. We definitely don't want Prayer in the opening hand, nor do we want Porphyrion, but we also don't want 2 Shield Bearers. I'm going to get rid of a Shield Bearer here. At least with his ward, he's a very nice card, but none of this is what we want right now. Yikes. Get rid of the Shield Bearer. Okay, we like the Vanguard. Now I wish I had a Shield Bearer. Get rid of Porphyrion. This is not what we want. And we'll go in second. So, let's see if we can pull off a comeback against someone who's just going massive on turn 1. This is a good way to start. Fortunately, it's still very easy for him to clear, especially if he has Faith Flame Blade. We're going to get wrecked. But even without Faith Flame Blade, Selena's Mark's pretty good here. Attack with the Hog first. That way he's got a 75% chance to hit one of these. Faith Flame Blade is brutal. Yikes. Turn this to a 1-2. Make it a little bit hard for him to try and take this out. This misses, he has to use 2 of his 3 favor, or of his 2 mana, and hit this twice. Maybe he wastes a Canopy Barrage. Okay. Maybe this lives to see another day if this goes face. No such luck. But at least the Faith Blade is gone. I want to save the bag so I can Porphyrion next turn. Fortunately, Highborn is just too good here. So this won't proc the Frenzied. And if we play both the Felid and the Vexing, and he takes this out, it's down to 1 health, and then we can trade. Guess in that case it's better if we pump this guy. They'll trade, we trade. We're still left with a 2-2 instead of a 1-1. So now we have a lot of ward. Question is, do we want to keep protected and just sack the 2-1? Or keep everything? We just keep everything and lose the protected. We're nicely protected against the hunt. We're not protected against a giant pangolin. This dude is just annoying. I'm just about to say a wrong path would be really nice on this card. This is just huge. And the cudgel's really nice as well. We get to draw cards. And he doesn't get to draw a card effectively because that Veil Warden's on top of his deck. In the Mace, the Form of Power, and the 2-1, we could take this out. We just have lethal if we top deck something nice, and we do. So what's that? That's 9, 10, 11. Yeah, that's enough. You don't even need to play one of the 1-1s first. That's just lethal. Let's go.